Welcome everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time I just want to briefly talk about the potential for a Zelda character coming to the second volume for the Fighter's Pass in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now when I'm referring to a Zelda character, I mean a Breath of the Wild character, but more specifically, a Breath of the Wild 2 character. Now we don't know the full name for Breath of the Wild 2, it may not even be called Breath of the Wild at all, but we know it's a sequel to Breath of the Wild, and it's in the works. I believe it's coming out this year, holiday 2020. They did start development for the game holiday 2017, so 3 years to develop a game is certainly possible, especially when you consider that they already made Breath of the Wild, so they already have an established engine, so that expedites the development process quite a bit, perhaps a year or two, so it's certainly definitely in the cards for Breath of the Wild 2 to come out this year. And even if it doesn't come out this year, it could certainly come out the next year, and that would still make sense for what I'm talking about here, because the Fighter's Pass Volume 2 is taking place between now and all the way up to holiday 2021. My point is, if you look at the Byleth inclusion, it shows you that Nintendo's very willing to add Nintendo characters, and I expect actually more than just one Nintendo character in the second Fighter's Pass, but either way, the point still stands that Nintendo characters could come, and a Zelda character would be exactly that, a Nintendo character. But also, with Fire Emblem Three Houses, it was a recent Nintendo game. Breath of the Wild 2 would also be a recent Nintendo game. Three Houses was a huge game with a huge fan base, and they brought in Byleth. It made a lot of sense from a business perspective. Even on the day of the presentation for Byleth, they also had a DLC trailer for Fire Emblem Three Houses. So they were definitely pushing that. That was definitely a marketing move. They may have another marketing move with the sequel to Breath of the Wild and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, including a character from that game, would definitely go a long ways towards getting more Zelda fans to play Smash Bros. And more Smash fans playing Zelda. It would work out brilliantly, it would be great hype, and getting people talking about both things around holiday 2020 time, if that is when the character comes out. Certainly possible. Especially when you consider that during the presentation, Sakurai was talking about how sometimes he plays these games ahead of time before they come out to get an understanding of the game and maybe see if the character can be brought in and see how the character would play. He brought up Breath of the Wild during this time, and he talked about how he played through the game for a couple days, explored Hyrule, got to the end, and then he determined that Zelda would not be a good fit to be playable in Super Smash Bros. And when I say Zelda, I mean Breath of the Wild Zelda, because Zelda's already playable. But here's the thing, Breath of the Wild 2 could be a different situation. Zelda in Breath of the Wild 2 is looking to have a more significant role. When you take a look at the trailer, she has a more sporty outfit, she's exploring the world with Link, and there have been some interviews where Aonuma has been questioned about the possibility of co-op or Zelda being involved or being a playable character, and he hasn't denied it. He hasn't confirmed it, of course, but he also hasn't denied it either in the sequel, and he thinks it's interesting that people think that could even be a possibility. So, that is something that may be in the cards. I think Zelda is going to have a more active role. I don't know if she will be actually playable just like Link, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's at least some co-op elements here and she's a companion character to Link. That would be amazing, and it would be a really fun dynamic to have in Breath of the Wild 2, but it would also mean that there would be a lot more going on with Zelda, perhaps enough to the point where she could be her own playable character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now there's a potential hurdle here for Zelda being playable in Super Smash Bros. In the Fighter's Pass. That hurdle is that, well, there's already a Zelda character in Super Smash Bros. Would they add another Zelda character as a playable character in Super Smash Bros. For the DLC? I think they could, considering what they did with Byleth adding another Fire Emblem character. That would, that certainly pissed off a lot of people, and not everyone liked that. I get it. Now with Zelda, I think a lot of Zelda fans would be happy with another Zelda character, but we're not just talking about another Legend of Zelda series character, we're literally talking about another personality of Princess Zelda as a playable character in Super Smash Bros. If the character is different enough, I would definitely be okay with it. I think it would be a really fun character to play as. There's certainly a lot of potential there already, I think, and if she gets more fleshed out with different abilities and things she could do, there's definitely a lot of potential there, for sure. But maybe it wouldn't be Zelda. Maybe it could be another character that we don't know about yet that we'll see in Breath of the Wild 2. I think that could happen, and maybe that could even suggest that we'll get Breath of the Wild 2 first, let's say holiday 2020, and then sometime in 2021, that's when the character comes out. Once we know about this character and it's a fairly popular character amongst the fan base, maybe that could be it. Maybe we could see another version of Impa. Now, I understand that Impa is an old lady in Breath of the Wild, but maybe in Breath of the Wild 2, there could be another character that takes on the role of Impa, or kind of like Sheik back in the day, and is a fully fleshed out new character. That could be really cool to see, and then maybe they could add Impa as an actual playable character in Smash Brothers, and then they could also use some alternative skins to sort of relate back to the old Impa from older Zelda games. That would be really exciting to see. It's also possible that while the champions are dead, perhaps their successors could take up more of a role in Breath of the Wild 2, get cooler, gain more powers, be more interesting, and perhaps even one of them could be made into an actual Smash character. That would be really cool. What if Riju becomes like Urbosa, where she grows up a little bit more, gets stronger, starts wielding around dual scimitars, and is shooting lightning everywhere? That would be awesome to see, and I would love that. I think it's possible. Is it likely? Well, we'll have to wait and see how things turn out. Of course, there's so many possibilities. And on the note of so many possibilities, while I do think Zelda could be a Nintendo franchise that they use to add another character to the DLC, there's other options. I've talked about Sylux. I talked about Sylux last week. If Sylux is going to have a big role in Metroid Prime 4, maybe Sylux is that Metroid character they add. And maybe they could add a Zelda character and a Metroid character. Who's to say it's just going to be one major Nintendo game add as DLC to the second volume of the Fighters Pass? It could be both. It could be none. There are so many possibilities, but I just think it's really interesting that maybe we could see a Breath of the Wild character add to Super Smash Bros. In the second volume for the DLC. What do you guys think? Do you guys think it's possible? Do you think it's likely? Unlikely? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, everyone, this is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care.